Welcome to International Love Story. My name is Christina, and today I would like to welcome Sykes and Julie. So Sykes is actually from the Philippines, and Julie is originally from France, and they are currently reunited in Singapore. I know for sure that your love story will be super interesting, and there's a lot to talk about, and I'm so looking forward to get to know you guys a little bit better. So yeah, let's just dive directly into it. Just go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? Tell us all about you.
Hi everyone, pleasure to be on your podcast, Christina. So thank you very much for this. So I am Julie of age. I'm from France, originally from a small part of France called Brittany. And since a very long time, I really wanted to go abroad. So that's what happened. Yeah, I'm 28 years old and I'm working here in Singapore at the moment.
So yeah, my name is Sykes. So right now I'm in the tech field, like UX UI designing applications and website. But beforehand, I was in marketing mostly. That's pretty much it, right? On my part.
And you mentioned already when we had the pre-chat that you met in the Philippines. Is that right?
Yes.
So how did this happen?
Okay, I can tell a story now.
Yeah, that is better than
I think I'm gonna tell you a story. You gotta tell the entire detail. So yeah, actually, the funny thing is like when I analyzed our story, we're not supposed to meet. What happened was she was in China for the exchange program because she's studying in a business school, and then after the business school, she's having an internship. The problem is she's having a hard time to find an internship in China, so her visa expires. So she needs to go somewhere near. She went to Hong Kong, just looking for an internship. She couldn't find one. And then she found one in Manila, but of course for her it's like Manila, I'm not sure. Because I think Manila has a bad reputation globally for most foreigners.
Yeah, well, actually, because like the image we get Manila in France and Europe is like when the Philippines like the beautiful beaches, but like don't go to Manila. It's like what the image we get from Europe. Basically, like everyone that I know, like in France, they were like, "Why would you go there? Like, look at the internet. Like they say it's dangerous, it's bad." So I tried to ask like on forums. I decided to go.
So she went, and then the funny thing though is like, so how we met is like, so the company where she was having an internship is same co-working space as the company I'm working at the moment. So so at that point, actually, I saw her before. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a new girl in the office. Yeah, I'm single. I'm like, it's a new girl in the office, and of course, it's an office. You couldn't just like talk randomly to people. How we met is that one time, so the HR of the company is leaving the company. So I was staying in the office for quite some time, helping her back up stuff. So while I was leaving in the living room, I saw her like sitting in the corner. It's like, oh, that's the new girl in the office. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna talk to her later. But the problem is we're having a dinner, right? So when we went out and we had a dinner, I don't know if she's still there. So I went back. I was like, oh, she's still here. How do I approach a girl like in an office, just me and her? I don't want to be like a creep. Yeah. What I did, I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pretend I'm busy. So what I did is like I was passing back and forth like I don't know 3 times, just to make sure that she sees me, right? And then afterwards, I went in front of her, trying to look busy and trying to call someone, even though I'm not talking to someone, just pretending.
No way.
I'm pretending, and then I was like, oh, come on, man! Like you could approach girls in bars and clubs, but like you haven't approached someone in the office yet. So like, okay, come on, let's do it. I approached her. I was like, oh, can I sit there for a bit? I'm waiting for my car. So the way I sit is I'm not sitting in front of her. It's more like sideways, like a casual sit down. So I think from that point we had a chit chat.
What did you do at 10 p.m. in the office, Julie?
That's a good question.
Why did you stay so long?
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good question. Very good question. Thank you for asking. Because actually, it was like my first month in Manila. I feel like Manila is not like the other cities like Singapore or I don't know, Hong Kong, Shanghai, where you meet a lot of people, so many expats. Like it's very diverse, very dynamic and stuff. It is very dynamic, but like I had something planned, and then on the day, like nothing was planned anymore. I had to do some stuff for my school as well because it was like a final year internship. And I'm like, okay, I will just go there and do my stuff for.
It's funny because I was canceling my Grab for 3 times just to get. Grab is like the Uber in Southeast Asia. So it's like canceling it 3 times. And then I invited her. It's like, oh, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to have a party with my friends. Feel free to come. It's like, She's so excited because she never hang out with people yet. And then the funny thing, like the next day, I think I was having so much fun, and I saw her message. I thought I pressed send, and it didn't send. So I was like, so having so much fun, and then like he kind of bit like a drunk a bit, and then I think at one point she told me like she was waiting in her condo, waiting for my reply.
He basically invited me to work to the day after, and I was waiting for his answer, and then on the day, like it didn't happen once again. Was my first month in Manila. So yeah.
So you did not get the message, and you did not go to the party after all?
So I invited her the next day, right? So the next day, like I went to the party, and I think I had the drink already. I replied, but I forgot to press send. So I thought I sent it, and then I think after 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. I'm like, oh no, like I didn't press send. That's why she's not here. I thought something's wrong.
Yeah, you forgot to press it. It can happen. Yeah. But me, from my side, I was like, oh shit, like once again.
The next day, I sent her a message like, oh, sorry, I forgot to press send. And it took her 7 hours to reply because I feel like she's kind of a bit, pissed off a bit. Like, she was dressed up like, I want to go, I want to meet some people. But like, I forgot about it. And then I think from there, it started as like us just hang out, as like friends hang out like on a daily basis or weekly basis, just touring around the city.
For how long did the internship last, or was supposed to last, Julie, in total?
So it was for 6 months. So we actually, during my first month there, and then we got together after like 2 months. Kind of interesting as well, the way we bonded together, because at first it was like pretty friendly vibe. And I was asking him a lot of questions because I was like so curious about like the Philippines and Metro Manila in general. Is such an interesting city, very different from the European cities. And I was asking him a lot of questions about like how I was at work, like why did my colleagues react this way, about their language as well, Tagalog, like so many questions you have to answer all the time. And I think the day we really bonded together was during Holy Week, because the Philippines are very Catholic countries. On the day, like tell me if I'm wrong, but like they visit like 7 churches, and they need to pray in those 7 churches. So it's like Visita Iglesia.
Yeah, so we call it Visita Iglesia. So there's a certain week of the year. We call it Holy Week. So what you do is like you visit 7 different churches with your family or friends, and then you pray. And also what you do is that you go to the Station of the Cross, and then you complete, like how Christ was at the beginning to the end. And so we actually did that, but we're quite late. So we only visited 3 churches. And then once we went back to the city, there's like an installation for the Station of the Cross. So we did that. And then I think that's the day that we bonded. It's only 2 of us.
It was very cultural. It's like very cultural experience. So because I feel it's like something very unique. So yeah, very interesting. And this is the day we actually bonded, and we got together.
So you said, Julie, that you bonded, that it was very special, especially for you, because you've never experienced something like that before, I guess. Do you remember if there was one specific point where you guys thought, okay, that's going to work out? Or was it more like it was just building up along the time, and then once you celebrated together and you made this amazing experience together and you got to know the culture a little bit better, surely that's the moment where you hit it off? The
thing is, like before that, right? I was actually considering like, oh, I need maybe like I could date this girl, but I don't know, like I never dated like a foreigner, right? So in my head, like, okay, how do you date French people? So I did the research, like, how do you date French people?
You did your research on it?
No, actually, every single time, like I studied it, and they're like, oh, one thing I learned is like French people don't date. It's called like rendezvous. So there's no date. So say in French culture, it's either like, maybe you kiss and then, or something happened, and all of a sudden the next day you're together. There's no in between. Like you can go from 0 to 100 the next day. So like, okay, that's odd. And then, so how you get to know each other is more of like rendezvous. So it's more of like hanging out with your friends somewhere, and then, just observing each other, how you guys react in a social setting. That's how it works. And then something happened the next day. The next day, you're a real relationship, like from friends to like lover, like within one day.
Yeah, that's like
there's no in between.
Yeah, because it's so different from the Philippines. Like in the Philippines, you can date for 6 months or over a year, and they're not together. They're like dating, and we don't have this kind of dating culture. And it's kind of funny as well, like the conception of the way we conceive, like for example, like friendship. Like the first time we met, like was on the Friday, and then the week after there was like a kind of an after work, and he invited me to this after work, and he told me like, oh, do you want to have a drink? But he didn't specify that it was actually an after work. So there were many people around, and they were like asking us like, oh, are you guys friends? And me, I answer like straight away, oh no, of course we're not. We just met. And for Sykes, like,
for me, it's like, yeah,
yeah, we're friends. Like, we have like a different perception of what is a friend. Like, it feels like a friend is like, someone that you start to know, like getting along and stuff, and can take years to be a friend, and consider someone as a friend. But
I think for us, it's like if you just met once and you had a great bond and chemistry, it's like that's my friend already. That's how it works.
It's interesting. It's like that when it comes to that point, the European culture is quite different. That's true. Because I've noticed the same thing in Argentina. Like Nacho, so my husband, he would consider someone as a friend as well after talking to them one time. So once he feels like they get along and they're cool with each other, they're interested in the same things, it's his friend as well. And that's also something I've never thought about before, to be honest, that dating wise, that it's so different depending on where you're from, about like depending on your cultural background as well, You made it official then.
Yes.
Yeah, afterwards, like we made it official. It's so interesting because then when we're together, it's like a different personality. It's like two different people from friends to lover. It's like when we're like in a relationship, it's like, oh wow, I could talk to her. Like I never talked with someone in a deeper level, like intellectually. I think that's how we connected. Sort of like intellectual conversation. We don't have like small talk. Always discuss things. Anything that comes under the sun. So that's how we started.
I mean, at that point, you were aware of that the time you'll be together at one place will last for just a couple of more months. Besides all this, you decided, okay, we'll just go for it. So it was never a topic that this is not going to work out. You wanted to try it, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, because back then it's like 2019, right? There's no COVID. Like we don't know what COVID is. So she left.
Yeah, we stay like for 4 months together, and even though I know that my internship will happen at some point, and I will have to finish my studies, we knew that at some point we are gonna be like reunited for sure. So I just had to come back to France and like finish my studies and my thesis, and then finding a job, and we'll be back to Asia, right? Like it sounds very easy. But
Yeah,
that's not really what happened.
or I go there, and then I remember like I think like December, like before the 2020, it's like, oh wow, 2020 is gonna be amazing, and then COVID happens. Yeah, you don't really know when it's gonna end. So I think that's when it started, like the long distance. I think in Europe or maybe in France, I think the lockdown only lasted for 6 months max, but in the Philippines like 2 years, and it always changes every 2 weeks. So it's like it's really kind of hard. Like I remember me working at home for my job, and I could see Julie like traveling in Europe. Like that's crazy. I mean, she has like freedom. Me, I'm stuck here, and we couldn't really see each other because no one could go in, no one could go out. So yeah, we adjusted with the time difference, and I think the long distance thing, it was useful for us to be more better in communication. That's why.
Different stage of the relationship, and that's how we learned to actually like grow together. And it wasn't that easy. Actually, we've been long distance for 3.5 years, like without seeing each other, because some people we know have been long distance, but they can't see each other. It's like every 2 months also. But like our situation was kind of specific, like so far away, like France, Philippines, and the Philippines I think Philippines were closed for 2 years. 2 years. So even though France, like we could travel, like we could then go to the Philippines, and then at some point I could go to the Philippines. So everyone told me like, Julia, why don't you go to the Philippines? But it's not that easy, right? You're using the money for that as well. So it's like better find an opportunity like to actually stay together more long term instead of just going there for 2 weeks or so. So that's why I wanted to actually find an opportunity for my work in Southeast Asia. So that's why I came to Singapore. So it took time as well to actually build it and try to find the right opportunity to actually be together and reunite it for longer term. Yeah.
But how was your whole experience during those 3.5 years where you didn't see each other? That was 3.5 years, no? I mean, thinking about it, like you only knew each other for 6 months.
Yes.
Before you had to leave the Philippines again. And then the whole craziness started and you kept your relationship, like you kept up with everything. How did you do that? Because to me, it's amazing. I mean, I have been in a long distance relationship, but we had all flexibility, let's say it like this. And we knew, like, same thing as in your case, like we're gonna make it work because at some point we live together. But the whole COVID thing, yeah, obviously it's something no one saw coming.
I think the first one's that we don't know how long it's gonna take, right? Like how long we're not gonna see each other. So it's more of like step by step. And I think later on we realized, no, it's gonna take long. So might as well like live each other's life individually and not focus too much on the relationship because we're still together, but like we couldn't like physically together. So we just focus on ourselves, like our career, our life. So I think that's how we were able to maintain it. And in fact, at some point, we don't even talk every day in terms of calling. I think like the normalization, we just talk like once a week in terms of call. We message each other every day, but only if it's needed. And I think the good thing about it, like we view this the same way. Like communication styles is the same way, and we talk about stuff. So if there's a misunderstanding, we just resolve it.
Yeah, we're very open as well about like what was happening in our lives and how it was work and everything, and our feelings and like how we feel at the moment and stuff, and all our struggles. We're talking very openly about it. And even though, like, for example, like we didn't call like every single day, right, at a specific time, but it was more like very casual, like, okay, like let's have a chat, and then just 15 minutes, and then it's like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like it's like you can like really like have a specific time when calling. Sometimes like talk for hours. And what was important was like knowing that we can't be together at that moment, so we need to make the most of it in our own circle, because there are still people, there's still our family, our friends around, so we still need to enjoy them, right? So I think that's how we managed to kind of balance the distance as well, even though it was not easy, and many people around us were like, oh, I couldn't do this, it's impossible, how guys are doing it, and sometimes even like kind of negative comments on why are you doing this, it's so weird, like judgmental, like very judgmental comments. But it's just like we don't have the choice. Like it's not like we chose it. Like we don't have the choice. We didn't choose that. Like there's COVID, we can't be together. So we're just trying to go with the flow, and we didn't know it would be so long anyway. Like it's all we thought it's just gonna be for a few months, and then we just go with the flow because we didn't have the choice.
As you said before, you were always hoping that, okay, just a few more months. And I think that's also what kept you going, because you thought, okay, eventually there has to be an end to all this.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure if you remember this. Like, I think I talked to her about some things like, okay, I mean, we could break up now, but we don't have a problem. It's just a distance. And if let's break up now and we find like a second option, don't you think that we're gonna regret it like later on? Like do you think it's like, oh, you found the one, and then you give up because of this like few years of time, compared to long term, you realize, oh, maybe you're gonna have a family in the future. Maybe you're gonna find a second option partner, but are you really that happy, or maybe not? So that's what we talk about. Like,
it's all about balancing what the society tells you and what we feel like. Like we feel like staying together, we connect together, we build together. So even though we're not at the same place, like we still have the same long-term goals and being together. We are like flexible as well, adaptable. Then we no problem about that. So like just let's be patient and like the others, it's okay, they can talk.
And I was discussing to her like I think in a relationship there's like 3 areas that you connect, like intellectually, physically, emotionally. So I was telling her like, okay, we couldn't be physically together intimately, but we could connect emotionally and intellectually, even though we're far away. So I think that kept us going with the relationship.
This is actually quite true, definitely. And you built another connection. As you said, I think you usually said it before, like that all this obviously made you strong, and you've been through something you might not have thought before that you might be able to pull through it. But once you find the one you want to pour your heart out to, you're going to find a way and you figure it out on the long run as well. Like trust-wise, it was not an issue for you. So you trusted each other 100%, no jealousy or anything like that during those 3.5 years?
No, actually, like whatever we thought of, like even though it's not politically correct, we just discuss it. Because I think it's better that way compared to like hiding it. And then, and I think it depends on your partner. So she's very open to things. So when I discuss something to her, even though like it hurts her sometimes, it's like, what do you mean? And then we just discuss it, and then we make a resolution based on that. Of course, it's not going to work for everybody. But I think just open communication is real key, and also like the values.
We talk about like things openly as well. Like I say, oh yeah, like I got this person, like like I was like telling like everything was happening and stuff, and we're like kind of open about it. And I was like, what do you think? Blah blah blah. Like, how should we consider our relationship? Like, should it be open or not, and stuff like that. So even though like even like we didn't have like a clear kind of vision on it, because just going with the flow. I think like in everything we're kind of going with the flow and like see what was happening, and then we're just going just with it. And that's how we actually discuss together. And I think the most important thing is just like being open and discussing about things.
And also I think honestly, I know this sounds crazy, because like if I have a friend who has been a long distance for like 3 years now, I mean that's crazy. Like I'm doing it, But like, so I think it's a case to case basis, because I remember before we had a long distance relationship, we were asking our friends already, French, local Filipinos, like, so you guys, the people who had long distance relationships, like we're asking like, how long is the experience you guys had? Usually like maximum is like 6 months not seeing each other, but not like years. So I'm like, okay, let's according to the survey, it's like 3 to 6 months. There's a maximum.
Yeah.
So for that we should meet. But like we didn't predict it's going to be longer. So
we didn't have any limitation, like going out, meeting people, and like it was very like no boundaries at all. Like, because why setting boundaries? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So we're like just having our lives and then talking about it. And then if something like was happening, or like we like, oh, maybe I want to talk to you about this, blah blah, and we just talk about it. Communication is the key.
How would you address, like you mentioned that before, even like topics that are painful or difficult to talk about? How would you address topics like that? Like, because like, for example, I am a very sensitive person, and in general, like nowadays my husband and I, we do have a very open communication, but it had to build up during the years, and being in a long distance relationship for 3.5 years, you have to develop other skills in order to balance that out, the being together physically, So I wonder how that worked. Do you have any advice on how to do that on a long distance relationship?
Yeah, I think we just stuck through it, to be honest. Like there's no solution for it. It depends really on your partner, though. Like, and also I think in any relationship, someone needs to be more collaborative than the other. Because sometimes like maybe one person is like, no, I don't like it anymore, and then the other person's like, no, come on, we're not giving up because of this. So I think someone needs to be.
And someone was like feeling like lower, like
taking the responsible part.
Like sometimes,
and not the emotional one.
Yeah. So sometimes like someone is like down, and someone's up, and someone is up, someone's down. It's like we kind of support each other, just like emotionally and intellectually. And I think it's very important to talk about the future as well. Like, so at least there's something to look forward to. So we talk about like the future, what we're gonna do after we see each other, even though we don't know when. So at least we have like a plan, and I think that plan keep us moving forward.
Also, like being like very honest towards each other, like even like about our work, because it's been 3.5 years. Like, it's, I mean, so much can happen. Like work-wise as well. Like we've had like different jobs, like so different people we met, like different lives in a way. Like we had like a whole life in between, and sometimes we make bad decisions, even like personally, professionally, and yeah, and we're very honest. I was like, oh, maybe sex, it was not a good decision, and we try to be like very honest, like even though sometimes it could be like a bit harsh, just because like we're far away and we can't communicate as good as when we are like just face to face.
You mentioned earlier when it came to dating, and also just now when it came to communication, that there are obviously cultural differences you also have to deal with. Communication wise, I think it just adds, like, that's the spicy part which you have to handle, which can be quite challenging sometimes. At least this is my experience. What is your experience when it comes to that?
Yeah, actually, like, we have a lot of cultural differences, like so many, and sometimes it can bring conflict as well, because it's like it's in ourselves, like in our inner body, right? So it's like all about like how we were raised and what the society taught us as well. So in many aspects, actually, so there are so many like something that I can think of now, even in like simple aspects, like even, well, are you talking about like distance wise or just in general?
In general, like everything that involves your relationship together.
Okay, yeah, actually, it's kind of funny because in France, for example, like we're a country, like Latin country that's European, like it's like we talk a lot. Like for example, when we meet people, it's always very polite to have a chit chat, like just to talk. And for example, we're very polite, like from a very young age, like people, like our parents teach us to be very polite, say hello, bye, thank you so much, blah blah blah. And I felt like even when I met Sykes in the Philippines, I was like, why I didn't say thank you like to the Grab driver? Like why I didn't say hello? And to me, like that was like nonsense. Like that was like impolite. So even like those simple things, like to me was like that's very impolite. But then I understood that in Asia in general, like you don't really say hello or hi for unknown reason. Like even in shops, you go to a shop and sometimes they don't tell you hello because it's not considered as necessary. It's even like a bit harsh to say it because like you're kind of intrusive into the other person's life. So there is this aspect, and sometimes as well, like for example, I have roommates here in Singapore, and it's funny. Sometimes we have like kind of little conflicts because I'm always like having a chit chat every time we go somewhere, and I go back. I need to chat with them because it's very polite. Like it's like how we bond with each other, and like sex is like sometimes it's like yeah, I'm only talking when necessary. Well, like to discussing about very deep stuff or for a specific reason. So I think that was like kind of like a culture shock we had together. Yeah, like family wise as well, the way we communicate. It's more open, I would say. Maybe there is like less cultural, like less boundaries between like the parents and the kids. Very open communication. Maybe the Philippines is different.
Yeah, maybe for us, things like this, like boundary. I think like not only in the Philippines, I think it's an Asian culture. Like it's like hierarchy. Like your parents has the last word no matter what, no matter like how old you are, because that's how it works, right? And then you answer back, you're disrespectful. So and also like she was mentioning about this, I think having a conversation. So for example, you have a roommate, right? Every time we go back, you need to talk about what happened, right? But I think in my point of view for Asians, it's more of like if something great happened, you discuss it. But if it's not like really that great, you don't really discuss it. It's like, oh hi, I'm back, like that kind of thing. And I think that's this conflict because she has some friends like French friends as well, that they have roommates who are Asian and they don't understand. It's like, why they don't say hi to me? Like they don't like me or something? Or why they don't like I was like, no, it's like they're just shy. They're just shy and there's nothing else to talk about. That's why they don't discuss things. And we discuss it. And realize, oh, so that's how it works. Because you always when you discuss something, like you always ask like, so but why though? And then you discuss it like different layers, and you realize, oh, okay, that's how it works in your culture.
Yeah, especially like it's interesting because like in my school I made a thesis about like intercultural differences at work, and I actually saw that like from like there's a researcher like Olsted, he made like some different cultural layers of like several cultural differences, and it turns out that I compare the Philippines and France, and we have so many differences, like it's very different, and it actually made me understood better like why sometimes we have some conflict. For example, I saw like from this framework that the seven cultural dimensions that the Philippines is like what they consider the masculine country, and France a feminine country. And what it means is that in the Philippines, it's much more competitive. You need like to always grind to get more, like very kind of American way, because like the Philippines have been colonized by the US as well. So maybe there is like some background about it, and also because it's a tough society as well. So you always need to fight for your rights, to fight at work and everything. So you always need to fight for everything, single thing in life. Whereas in France, we have this kind of freedom conception, like, okay, society needs to be very cool. We like work-life balance is so important. So sometimes we have conflicts about that. It's like, yeah, Sykes, I mean, you should stop working. Now we should enjoy our lives. And Sykes is like, yeah, but like my country like doesn't allow me that. So I need to grind for more. So it's like sometimes you have these kind of, I'm like, yeah, but no, I mean, you should enjoy as well. Like we're united together, so we should enjoy it. But like, yeah, this kind of different.
Because I think for the Philippines though, we follow the American work kind of way. Like we're gonna sacrifice maybe for, I mean, not everybody, but like for us, like, oh, we would love to sacrifice like very like long period of time, like working, like in my point of view, like let's say 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, that kind of thing, just to go forward faster, so that later on, like, okay, maybe I could chill a bit. And there's also always a guilt, like, oh man, I'm like having fun, but the thing I'm supposed to do is not yet done. It's like at the back of my head, it's like, oh, it's not yet done, so I need to push more. And in fact, I think for me, I get my sense of happiness in the things I accomplish, whether it's like work or personal life. And if I don't accomplish something, I feel bad about it. Like, let's say we're having leisure time, we're having fun. In my head, like, oh, come on, anybody could do this. Like anyone who had the resource could do this. I mean, it's not accomplishment, so I feel bad. But if I accomplish something and I have a leisure time, like I feel much better.
This is a very, very interesting point of view, I must say. I mean, I understand, and I guess you balance each other out a little bit when it comes to that, no? So you found the middle ground, or are you still working on it?
I think we balance it and work together, but I think we're still the same in
learn from each other as well. Like, it helps me better understand like his point of view as well, because I know the reality as well, like of Filipinos and how it's hard, like just to go to a country and like you need to push for more all the time. So I think we're more culturally aware and like more open-minded as well about it.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, going back to like the opportunity, what she was mentioning, right? I think for Filipinos, we need to grind more to be in a position as her compared to her. I mean, she's from a first world country. I think for them, it's easier. Like it's easier to accelerate without doing the things that we're doing. But for us, we need to grind more, way better. So I think that's why our culture is like that. Like, for example, just traveling. I mean, the best country I could travel without a visa is Singapore and Hong Kong. The rest have a visa. And the visa takes so long. But for them, it's like, oh, it's just a breeze. We just could go anywhere. And even finding a job, right? I think for them, I think for Caucasians, I'm not generalizing it, but I feel like for them, it's a lot easier to get a job internationally compared to Filipinos to get a job internationally. So for us, like, I want to work way more. And I don't think only for Filipinos. I think like some part of Southeast Asia, aside from Singapore, because I think it's
you shouldn't think about it in detail, honestly, because I can tell you stories as well about how Nacho is treated because he's Argentinian, and which privilege just in many quotes I have as a German. Like, you see the difference. There's obviously a difference, and it's totally not fair. I think that's something we could talk about most probably for the next 2 hours. Your experience you have made in that field, our experiences, but unfair is an understatement, I'd say.
And I feel like sometimes it's important as well for us to make people understand that part as well, because so many people don't realize when I say yes, Sykes can stay only here, like can only be here for 1 month, and then he needs to go back, and he needs to wait a bit to go back again to Singapore because he has been there 3 times already, and they're gonna ask him questions like in the immigration. And going to France, like people always ask me if he has been to France, but it's very hard. You need like an approval from your work, an approval from the government, an approval from everyone. Even like making a cover letter is like so hard just as a tourist, like just to enter France is hard already. So yeah, people don't realize all these struggles actually. So I think it's important for me as well to make French people aware of that. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I know we have like a lot of social benefits, but you guys don't realize like we have a lot of social benefits, and sometimes we take it for granted.
Like, did you meet each other's family already? Did you have the chance yet, or how did that work? May I ask? Because I feel like that's also a very important part to understand where the other person is coming from, to meet his or her family and friends.
She met my my family already multiple times, but me, I can't. Like maybe this year, I think they're gonna visit Singapore, and maybe I can like I see them. But I've never met their parents, just digitally, just by call or by a video call. But of course, there's always a language barrier because we speak French.
Yeah.
And I don't speak French. We speak English.
So English on the phone, and I met his family.
I met her friends as well, because back then they went to the Philippines, and even here in Singapore. So she's like immersing me to the French community.
Also the French food.
Yeah.
Oh, like, yeah.
No. It's just the funny thing. It's like I think I don't know when, like maybe a month ago, I tried saucisson and fell in love.
Yeah, saucisson, like, I love saucisson. I love like cheese. Yeah, because it's funny because saucisson is like, like a sausage, like a cold sausage that you eat raw, and they don't have such a thing in the Philippines.
We always cook it. We don't cook it like raw. Like, it's weird. Actually, it's funny because I've been eating it maybe like 3 times, and I just realized, oh, this is raw. Oh my god! Like, is it safe to eat it? Because I'm enjoying it already. Is it like, it's fine?
The first time you had trouble to eat something, you're like, meat that is not cooked. What the hell? But like then you enjoyed it, and it's actually a very interesting cultural fact as well. The way we perceive food, like in France, we have like when we have like a family meal or with friends, it can take 4 hours. Like we can spend the entire day just eating with the family and talking and chatting and chit chatting again. It's all about like. There is like appetizer, entrance, like main course, blah blah blah. It can last 4 hours, like 6 hours. So it's more about like bonding with each other. It's like it has a very social aspect. In the Philippines, it's more like for necessity.
Yeah, like I was comparing to her as like, so I think for Europeans when they eat food, it's more for pleasure, right? Different flavors in your mouth. It's like, it's so amazing. But in the Philippines, like average for us, like it's a necessity, it's a function. That's why sometimes we eat fast. It's like, I'm hungry and I need to do some work, and we eat fast. I mean, only the people have means of like extra money. They could only have the pleasure, but like average, not that much. So I think I was explaining to her because it's like a joke. She was joking like, how come you guys eat a lot of rice?
And almost chicken and rice. Was always eating like chicken and rice like every single day, every single meal. It's boring.
Yeah, no, but like by that time I was working out, so I'm like, and because I think in the Philippines as well, like the cost of living is so bad. So in comparison to first world countries, like I think for the Philippines, if you have a salary, let's say fresh grad, you couldn't really live by yourself. When you went abroad and realize, oh wow, so if I have a salary, I could live by myself, or I could give money to my family back in my country. And we never know that concept. And I'm like, wow, so in the first world country, if you got a job.
You guys, obviously your communication is in English. But if I remember back then, when I started communicating in English on a daily basis, it was, let's say, very interesting. And there were a lot of miscommunications. I don't know if you made the same experience, if you struggled with that, or was it never a topic for you?
It kind of improved like along the way by the experiences and so on. So, but of course, like Sykes' English was much more fluent than mine, and he taught me a lot of words as well, and especially like American words that I never heard of.
In fact, I think we speak our own language, like for French, me Tagalog, just for like tiny bits of pieces, like a joke, sometimes just to be sweet or just to have fun, that kind of stuff. It makes it a bit like.
Yeah, I know we do the same, creating our own language kind of thing. It's very funny. Right now, you guys, as mentioned, you're sitting in Singapore. If I understand correctly, Julie, you're working in Singapore. Sykes is gonna leave again in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Because the visa doesn't allow you to stay longer anymore, or what's the reason, may I ask?
That's the reason why. And also it's hard to get a job here in Singapore. Mm-hmm. Like for her, the reason why she got a job because she's part of like a special program for French citizens. So that's why she got a job. But like I think for a foreigner, because we met some people who want to find a job in Singapore as well, from let's say Italy, like they're having a hard time because in Singapore, for the local contract, there's like a quota. So they prioritize the locals before they got like a foreigner.
You sometimes it's a bit frustrating because you're like, oh wow, it's like it took us like 3 years and a half and like to get together, so at least we're together. But like he has been coming back and forth to Singapore like 3 times, so 3 months overall. So it was amazing. But then at some point at the immigration there was some troubles and stuff. So that's why if he doesn't have a job in Singapore, it's like harder for him to stay here. But at least we're in the same area right now, so like in the same zone, you can visit me more easily. And maybe at some point you can find an opportunity here in Singapore. Yeah, as well. I can move to Manila from time to time. We can meet in between at some point. We can work from home. We can always find a solution. So hopefully we'll find one.
So that's your future plan. First of all, working on the solution, and then obviously living together on the long run as well, no?
Yeah. Actually, we actually have plans like in the future. Like for me, I have plans of going to Spain in the future. Mm-hmm. So I was researching about it, right? Because I'm like, I want to have dual citizenship. Like that's the plan. Like before I met Julie, like I wanna go there, and then since Philippines, just like other parts of South America, they're former colony of Spain. So if you go to Spain, stay there for 2 years, you can apply for residency. Another year you can apply for citizenship, and all of a sudden you're an EU citizen, and then now you have a powerful passport and you can travel freely, and you're a dual citizen. So it's not going to be a problem. So it's not going to be a problem in the future. So I think we plan that out as well. So at least like next time we could be just together.
It's harder like to get.
Heard that Spain actually lifted the regularities in general a couple of months ago. I think almost 1 year ago, right? It's supposed to be easier now.
Yeah, especially for Filipinos.
And then like since like it's part of the EU, right? Like Spain, so I could go to France. Like.
So you're trying. I mean, you're not trying. You're making it work on the long run. You are trying to live together permanently. And what else do you have in mind for, let's say, for the next 5 years of your relationship? That's a lot already.
5 years, like I mean, of course, like we plan, like we try to go further in our relationship as well, and to get into like more engagement as well. So yeah, I think like in the next 5 years it will be like towards this as well. We really want to like default making this commitments. We really want to to be together and just like the same place and to be sure. Because we always like first like we didn't know, like we just don't want like to do something right now, like just for so that it's easier living together in the long run. And yeah, maybe in Singapore that would be great
to get to an end, because I know it's late on your end already, and I really appreciate all the time you gave me. If there is one advice or 2 or 3, let's say up to 3 advices you'd like to give to anyone who's listening, who's maybe in a similar situation as you, who is dealing with the same, let's say, hurdles as you're doing, what would those advices be?
So if they're all like people like going in the same kind of situation as us, I would give maybe based on our experience and what we learned along the way, I would say like maybe first communication so important. Like always communicate with the others and always make sure that what you do is like for the benefit of the other as well. So it's all about like sometimes you need to compromise as well. So yeah, you're two. So you need to think about the both of us. It's very important to keep that that bond as well. So yeah, be very open, communicate, be direct, very important. So the first thing will be communication, and then the second thing will be I think being clear as well on what you want, what are your goals, and if it's like feasible together. I think it was very important as well for us. Like we clearly noticed from the beginning, we're very flexible and adaptable in the same way, but sometimes like if you don't have like you're not on the same level, sometimes like in the same kind of you don't have the same goals or talking about the same future. Like sometimes there could be like some trouble as well. So like just like being well, it also comes with communication as well, but like compromising as well. But yeah, always. But yeah, to me, like the ending goal is so important as well. And then the third one would be like do everything to make it work. For example, like when it was like the middle of the pandemic, like we're like, oh, we'll never see each other. It's okay, it's not possible. Like sometimes you can be desperate and you're like, what the hell? And everyone is telling you like, why are you with that guy? He's so far away. Like I don't know. Like some people had told me like some crazy shit. I don't understand. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, you don't know him. Like you don't know our relationship and you want to make it work. And so just do everything that you can. And even though it was hard, and we made it work. And like the fact of like getting an opportunity in Singapore, people were saying like, no, it's impossible. But it's possible. You can work for it and you can get it and you can get there all together. So yeah, be brave and
rocket. You're so cute.
How do I beat that? I think
you can't.
I have a better one. No? Oh yeah, I don't think so. No, because I think for me like it's three things, right? Maybe for me it's not. It's like an overall. I think before you engage in a relationship, you should be happy first, because most of the time people go into a relationship because there's something missing, and they think that's a relationship. So let's say two people who are like messed up, they create more mess, right? But like two people are individually happy, become more happier. So I think that's the first one. Like you should be happy first before you go into a relationship. And the second one is like having your standards, because I think most people who, let's say you're happy, but I think people don't have standards into a relationship. They just want to find a partner because of society's deadline, let's say. So I think having a standards is important, because I think for me, like my ideal girl, I already told my mom when I was in grade school, and she told me that girl doesn't exist, and found her. She went here, so I couldn't find you though because I don't have a passport to go with friends, but a good thing come here. And the third one, yeah, then the third one is the communication and having the same values, because even though we have a different culture, right, I think the way we think and the way we perceive things, it's quite similar. So I think that's why we get along pretty well.
Wow, that was really good. I'm speechless. I think that's the perfect moment to end this podcast now, to let it sink in. That was amazing. Wow. Nothing to add to that. You're totally right. 100,000%.
That's better. Yeah. Okay. Let's see in the comment section. I don't know if this one.
I'm gonna ask in Instagram. No, but that I mean, obviously, like that's general for every relationship. I just leave it like that. That's true. 100%, as mentioned before. So yeah, again, thank you so much for your time. I really, really, really appreciate it that we made this work today, and also that we found a date where you're both reunited. So I both see you together, sitting next to each other, shoulder on shoulder. I really love the picture right now. And for everyone, just one last question for everyone who would like to contact you. What's the best way to contact you?
I think it's you're more active than me.
Yeah, he's a LinkedIn guy. He loves LinkedIn. He's always like, his accounts.
Yeah, you.
Me, I'm still like Instagram is the best. Yeah, like Jus de Juju in French. It means like juice of Juju because I'm Julie. So Juju. Well, anyway, it's like JUSVE.
I will link it in the description, obviously, as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think for me, LinkedIn. Yeah, just
LinkedIn.
I think that's where I hang out most of the time now. I don't hang out on Facebook.
I can't wait to get this podcast episode out, to be honest. I love talking to you. That was an amazing conversation, and yeah, thank you for everything. I mean, I don't have any words for that. Like, you see my big smile on my face. It was a pleasure to meet you, really.
Yeah, thanks so much, Christina, because like, when you make this announcement on your Instagram story, I showed it to Sam. I was like, oh, we should do it. It's so nice. Like, I mean, I really like, I wanted this kind of like molding. It's like, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, like, because I remember back then we were like, you know what, we should create the podcast for us, but it never happened because we're both busy. So it never really happened. Because she's like, oh, you know what, our story was amazing. I think we should tell it to the public. It never happened, but yeah, it's great that like we had an opportunity to share it with you.
Yeah, that was your time to shine now. And you did great.
Yeah, good conclusion.
Thanks again.